dark, which is a little later than I should have planned for, because I am. Uh oh. What's happening? This dream thing is quitting. Oh no, we're good now. Cool. We are going camping, in a way, in the good old combo classroom, mixing two of my favorite activities, camping and being in my combo classroom. And we're doing this partially to see what sorts of nature I witness at night, sleeping out here in a tent for a few nights. And perhaps we'll see some skunks and some possums. If the live stream just started, it was glitching on me for a second. What I was saying is we're going camping in the combo classroom. Two of my favorite activities mixed, being here and camping in nature. It is natural out here in my classroom, but the difference is that normally I'm using the technology around here and sitting sometimes at a desk and setting up a lot of stopped clocks and stuff, as opposed to fully appreciating what sorts of wildlife we might experience, particularly at night when I'm less often out here. And I figured that it's time, since I'm filming the final parts of the grade -2 finale, to do what I did in grade -1's finale, but perhaps even more extreme, which was camp here for a little bit. And this time we'll stay a few nights or perhaps a week or something while I film some scenes for my episode, and also perhaps do a few live streams. And while I chatted about the beginning of this little camping adventure, I was going to set up the tent right now, which I'm still going to attempt to do and hopefully succeed. But unfortunately, it's gotten quite dark on me real quick, and so hopefully I can set up this new tent, which is a new one I got and haven't used before it's pitch black, but we'll find a way. And tonight we won't have all of the camping activities. Perhaps another stream will center around a little combo campfire or something like that. Not one of the crazy fires from some of my episodes, but a campfire to cook food on and such. In general, I did want to begin our little camping adventure, and what this will consist of is setting up a tent like one would use to camp in nature, which is this new one here I'm trying to open, and also doing some other camping-like things, like trying to eat more of my food that I could just make from ingredients out here, perhaps using fire from a campfire if needed, and using a bit less technology and things like that, although I will still use the indoors to sometimes charge my important technology like cameras and computers if I will be live streaming, and to use the bathroom indoors and such, because I am still very close to my house. So we're not full-on camping, which is something that I do want to do. I can't get this knot open. We're not having good luck at beating the darkness if this knot won't even open yet. Anyway, camping is something that perhaps we'll do more full adventures of sometime, because I have enjoyed camping many times in my life. I've probably gone some version of camping approximately maybe around 50 times in my life, not all of which are the extreme sort of camping where you're backpacking and all that you have is on your back. A few of the times it's been like that, but a lot of the times I've done what's called car camping, where you park a car somewhere nearby that you can still store food and certain things in, and then a little distance from that, hopefully in some sort of forest or maybe by a stream or something, you set up a tent like this one. So, this tent, we're gonna need to do a few things to set up while we chat. And the first thing is going to be dusting off this tarp a bit more, getting all the junk off the tarp. And having a tarp under the tent will make the tent last longer and make the ground a bit less bumpy, particularly because there could be broken glass here. And in fact, I'm going to use a broom very briefly to just clear an area from any broken glass. I think it's already been cleaned, hopefully, but you never know when one might sneak by you. And although the tarp's in the way right now, my cat Dandelion has been visiting nearby and is curious about my nighttime visit out here, so perhaps he will come join me in the tent. Last time I got a bit of camping. out here. And I have this sitting on a particular like dresser like thing here, so you won't be able to see hugely what I'm doing, but let's try and brighten it as much as we can to see if that helps. Or does that even help, or just make glare and stuff? Oh no, yeah, that'll help. Okay. So, and let me make sure this isn't smudged at all. So, we now have a little clearer room to see what's going on, a little brighter back here. And we barely have room for the whole tarp, but that's okay, because we'll have room for the tent in the middle. This one is just a 2-person tent that I got that would be useful. Now, our next step is going to be, we need to set up some poles. Tents need poles. And there's a few ways poles can work, but typically they're this type, where you got one smaller one to attach the rain fly if needed. Oh, 2 cats are here. One was chasing another, and one's on the tarp. I don't think you can see him, but we'll get more up closes after I do this, because I want to beat the time when it becomes fully dark out here, which is really close. So the longer of these, which isn't for the rain fly, but for the tent itself, or sometimes maybe 2 of them. Yeah, we're going to need, on most tents, 2 longer ones that sort of span an axis on it. So, let me get these tent poles together, and then we can try and assemble it and hope, since it's a new tent, that it's not that different than the ones that I've used in the past. Leave a suggestion if you have any thoughts for camping activities that you think would be fun for us to do here in the next few days, like read some spooky campfire stories or cook anything particular on the campfire. Any experiment you want me to try and cook on a fresh campfire, or any other camping activities you think would be fun. We'll try and get in a somewhat old-fashioned mindset, apart from the fact that we are using the technology for me to film or live stream good portions of it. And I wonder if I'm going to see any cool animals at night. That probably, well, it could be on a live stream maybe, but more likely would be in like the middle of the night. But if so, I'll have a camera ready to capture them. Not capture them in the sense of capturing animals, but, you know, capture on film. So we got our 2 long poles built. These are going to span the axis of the tent. So let's see where they're going to tuck in. Oh, hi, Sage. Are you coming to go camping with me? He always likes helping. Okay, so here's our tent. And this is the door. I don't know why the door was open in the way it came in the bag. I'm going to try and close the door because that'll make it a little easier to orient what's what. We're going to be looking for how these connect at the top, because that's usually the crucial difference in a few types of tent, are whether you loop these poles in first or whether you clip them in and tie them at the top. This is the type, let's see, where's the top? And I will be checking the chat, but once I have gotten the tent set up, I will be more vigilant with that part of it. So here, these are good. These are stakes for the ground, so that's a corner. There's another corner. So the top's got to be up here. And so we're going to clip it all the way to the top, and then what do we do at the top? Yeah, it's the type that slides through. So, is it? Let's see. Where's the top? Huh? What's going on here? Where's the top? I'm just seeing clipping them. Oh, here. This. Okay, so it's the type where we tie them on top, so we don't have to worry if we loop them through anything beforehand. We can just start clipping them. But we have to clip them on the right spots. So we're going to take one of these ends, and we're going to put the end of one of these on it. We're going to... Now to note, although I've gone camping about 50 times in my life, I have not done it that recently. that's because of all the surgeries I had to get before and during the beginning of combo class, which I was only fully recovered from certain surgeries about not even 2 years ago. And so I haven't been able to get out into nature as much recently, but I do want to take longer camping adventures. But for now, as a sort of tradition as we wrap up a grade, and there's a logic behind this tradition. The logic is that this is the time when things are most destroyed in the classroom, near the end of a grade, and the time where a lot will get replaced. I will be getting a new lab coat, for example, and probably a new whiteboard or two, and probably either use that desk or get another desk. That one's kind of weird. But there will be new things, and some old things that are like moldier stuff will have to get thrown away. I'm trying to find what direction these clips go. And so this is the time where I'm clearing a giant clearing in the classroom to sort of see what's left and what's going to get sorted where, have room for a transition, and in between have room for some camping and hopefully camping if they join me in the tent. This is really hard to see. I think you have an easier time seeing me than I have seeing myself, because when I look in there, it's almost clearer in like the image that it's getting, but it at least feels really dark. So somewhere, I guess it's on the mesh part I should be looking for. Somewhere here, there's a row of clips. Do I have this inverted or something? Oh yeah, I have it inverted. This is the upper side now. So, here was one of the clips, and here's a row of clips. So, we want to clip it in at the right spots. This is going to be the top, or no wait, this is near the bottom, but it'll work right there. So, we're going to clip that one. And kind of go down the line, make sure we got all of our clips on the right direction. And then this one will just pass by the part that normally ties. And then we want to get the right amount of space though, and it gets really stretchy, so we have to sort of arc it. So let's see. Okay. Whoa. This is the tricky bit where you have to sort of bend it to have room. Okay, I'll be back there in 1 second. That was the final clip for this one, and now I need to stretch it and make it meet this pole as well. Okay, we've gotten one axis. Now time to try and do the same thing without messing up this one. And real quick to check our chat, welcome to everyone coming. And Magic Fellow recommends it's been a while since we've done the Choose Your Own Adventure books. And that is true. I think that tradition that we did a few times began when we did the grade -1 camping trip, perhaps, or around that time, maybe. I don't remember exactly. But that is a good one. I will make sure I have some of those handy on our future camping adventures here over the next few nights. Today my goal is mostly to chat while I get the setup, where I get my living space here. And then we'll see the inside of the tent and maybe try and grab a lantern or something, investigate the nighttime briefly, and chat about a few things. First though, we've gotten almost to the point where it's like pitch black, so I think I'm gonna get this just in time for my goal for it not to be pitch black. Now, this, I'm going to try and tilt because I don't have that much room here. I don't want to jab my computer monitor with this. So, there's like this flying danger. So this one's gonna connect here, but I don't want to lose this whole axis. Okay, the axis might fall, it's okay. This one connects here. It's hard to get, it's caught in something. These ones are hard to fit anywhere if you're in a small space. But here we go. Okay. Okay, pretty close. I'm on the final set of clips. Unless we want to put on the rain fly, which is probably optional right now. I'll actually keep it off because I like having the option for it to be a little more outsidey. But if it gets misty in the morning, I'll regret not having the rain fly. So, we'll see if I regret that or not. Okay, I barely have room for this. I need to get past it on this side somehow. I'm running out of room. Okay. Okay, I'll be back to the stream part of this in 1 second. We're almost done. I think that's good, except that this I should have clipped further. Is that gonna work? These need to clip one further. I think. How is this supposed to fit? This one's not wanting to fit. Maybe because of this rung. This one's about to just barely fit. I feel like I'm overstretching it, but I think it'll work. Yeah, that should work. I don't see what's wrong with that. All right, now, what we have to do, although, what's going on here? This feels like these could maybe be one rung further or something. I want the middle to shift a bit. Okay, I'm sure in the morning when I see this in the daytime, I might notice something imperfect with the way I've set it up, but for now I think we are pretty close to our shelter. So now I'm going to tie off this top bit using a loopy sort of knot, so it'll be untieable. A loopy but tight one. Now, let's see how I'm going to position this. Where is this going to fit best? And is it on the tarp? Okay. The ground's also very uneven here, I have to remember. So, I have to... Uh-oh, this one came off. There we go. Now it'll hold up better. That's it. There we go. Although, Some of these could maybe be a little better positioned, but that will work. And let's get it as steady as we can. Where's our steadiest ground? Get the tarp almost at the edges. In case for some reason it's like wet in the morning, like misty or anything, I don't want water to collect in it. So we want the tarp like right under here without crossing. However, I don't know if that's gonna work because the tarp's too big and I don't want it to be super bumpy right there. So I'm just going to assume it's not going to be very wet because the forecast says it's not going to rain. And hopefully this is not too crooked. Let's see what it's like inside there. So, looking good so far. Here's what we got, and I don't even know what you can see of it. I will try and get a lantern or something would be good. That's funny. This is a brand new tent, but it has this weird ball of linty stuff, or is this for a reason? Maybe this is for a reason? It looks like strings that could come in handy for something, but it also looks like, I don't know if it's actually there for a reason. In any case, I'll take it as a good luck charm. And that completes our first step. I shouldn't be using my shoes in here. Now, I mean, you can in your tent. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to have your tent zone not have your shoes, and then it's nice and clean. Now, I guess I'll be sleeping that direction, this way. So, next step is, if you want it to be practically as comfortable as a bed, what you're going to want is some sort of sleeping pad. So, all of these, apart from usually the tent, well, it depends on what weather you're in, but a lot of these are optional things. You could camp without a pad if you don't have one, but it does definitely make the sleeping experience a bit better. Now, this one, I think, is the type. This has air in it, but does it just eternally have air or feel like air, or does it have to blow up in some way? Yeah, so it might have to blow up more. This one has a little thing to unscrew. Hopefully somebody will watch this who hasn't been camping, and they will use this as an opportunity to see that it wouldn't be that hard for them to set up a tent. It was pretty cheap too, the tent. Or to set this stuff up. I feel like they're supposed to blow into it somehow, so pull this way to open, and then push to lock, and then I need to blow on it in there or something. I think maybe it's getting more air in it. Let's see if this makes a difference. I don't know. I can't tell if it's actually making a difference. There's like two modes. Wait, so pull to pull to open. I think this is filling it now that I have it open like that. Pull to open, push to lock. It's hard to tell if it's making a difference. It already feels pretty full. I'll just blow a little more air into it with this just in case. I think that was making a difference, but in any case, it feels relatively good. Now I'm going to try and do the push to lock, do the opposite of that. Okay, wait. No, wait, that is definitely it. Okay, I'm sure that was really the most interesting part of the stream, but that part is good to go. Now, as far as a sleeping bag, I think I might need to run to right indoors to grab one from the closet. First, let me take a peek at our chat from within this tent. And thank you to all of our fellow combo lords. Somebody, Stavonites, mentioned that they turn off ad block when they watch the content. You know, every bit counts, so thank you. And someone says they have less time for their lecture entrance exam. I'm not sure what you mean by less time. If you mean you don't have a ton of time, you have not enough time, I would say, good luck studying quickly or whatever it takes. And someone said, they asked, my parents won't let me stay in my bedroom now that I have my own place. No, I don't live in my own place at the moment. That was a temporary thing that made sense for a few reasons, but also for a few reasons, I'll explain more things over time. Made sense for me to move back into my parents' house. So I do live in the bedroom I used to live in. So I could sleep there tonight. It's just more fun to sleep in a tent out here. And somebody said they can't wait to find how the tent proves pi is non-algebraic. You never know. Well, last time we were talking about numbers with tents, I used it as an opportunity to make the analogy for if we had, we considered on a number line a tent made of two numbers that were 2 apart and sort of the camper inside them as being the one in between. We can note some interesting traits about those things, like, for example, numbers or campers cannot share factors larger than 1 with their tent. We could note that of any tent pieces or camper, that at least 1 must be threeven. We can note that if we're looking at cases where a tent is, or first, how about cases where a camper and half of their tent are both square or not both square numbers, that would be 0 and 1 in that case. But how about 1 is a square and 1's a cube? Well, there's exactly one case of that. It's been proven that 8 and 9 are the only other neighboring square and cube apart from 0 and 1. And we could also note that it's also been proven that the only tent that is square numbers is 25 and 27. 5 to the second power and 3 to the third power are the only, apart from -1 and 1, which kind of does it in 2 ways, because 1 could be 1 squared or -1 squared. But apart from that one, including 0 and a negative, the only case where our tent of our numbers 2 apart will be a square and a cube is 25 and 27, sometimes called Fermat's sandwich theorem. Using the tent analogy I'm using could have been a sandwich analogy easily. Now, thank you to all of our people joining. And so, last comment to respond to here, somebody noted, Threeven is a throwback to the OG combo lords. Yeah, I still use Threeven as a term a lot, but early in the days, I presented many of my findings about Threeven numbers to some of the earliest combo lords. And there are more findings about Threeven numbers, and I'm still waiting for the perfect time, which will happen at some point in grade -3, to unveil the official petition, which I'll know when it's the right time to do, but the official petition that Threven should get in one of the official dictionaries. And thank you to all the other comments, such as somebody mentioning aerodynamic entrainment. And also somebody mentioning the 196,883 dimensional monster, which is related to the largest size of a sporadic, or of any of the finite groups, I believe, in group theory. So, and that's the dimension of it. I guess that's not even the order of it. The order of it is much larger. But yeah, that one's pretty crazy. That one maybe we'll cover in an episode someday. And the mathematician John Conway thought one of the craziest things he'd ever seen that was practically like seeing God to him was the connection between that and this thing called the J function that just happens to have an important value of 196,880. It's either 2 or 4. It's one off from that number. So, weird connection that is yet to be explained. And we also have a comment, first I'll answer the Magic Fellow wondering when grade -2 will end and grade -3 will start. Well, there's only one more official episode on the main Combo Class channel, and that is the finale. And I hope to have that done in a week or two, because it's going to take some editing, even though the final scenes will be filmed in the next few days. So the finale of this grade should come in the earlier portion of October, and either at some point in the latter portion of October or at the beginning of November will be the start of grade -3. So it'll be by November 1st, likely sometime in October, that we will be beginning grade -3. And I will in that time be catching up on many things, posting a lot of bonus videos that I didn't post for some reason, because they got lost in the vault requiring some editing or fixing or something. Catching up with the Discord, which now has a fixed link in the description here. Catching up with messages and emails from any folks who have sent things like that, and etc. And in the meantime, I will also be doing some fun live streams, in particular the next few days, related to camping. So, we also had Jordan Blevins asking why base 10 does repeated triple-digit number, why any repeated triple-digit number divided by its triple product always result in the number 37. Well, here's why that will happen. It's because 37 shows up when we have 3-digit rep digits a lot. Rep digits meaning repeated digit. And not to be confused with rep unit, another nickname for what I call hyper 11s, where it must be ones. But, or to be specific, a hyper 11 is more of what they call a generalized rep unit. But here we have a triple repeated digit, which is a multiple of 111, the third hyper 11 in our base. And 111 has a factor of 37. So for example, in that case, so when we divide 555 by that, the 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, it's shrinking it by 3 times 5. And the 5 part, we can imagine shrinking it down to 111. The 3 part would make 1/3 of 111. And in any case, if I had 7s or something, it would be the same. I would be shrinking 777 by 3 times 7. So it would still be 1/3 of 111. So you can do larger tricks that result in other numbers. That's one I've shown, I think, in shorts and stuff before, because it works well with a particular random seeming 37 number. But you can do that with other types of numbers using larger strings. And other bases would have their own patterns. And thank you for the Magic Fellow who helps moderate and run the Discord and such. Said he's excited for the new era and they may cook something new for the Discord as well. And I'm very excited too. I'm going to discuss some of the issues that I've gone through in this past year that I think will make grade -3 even better now that I'm past them. Some of those I will discuss in the finale. Some will require a little more time, but there will be some personal details about how this transition, what it means to me and what I expect and things like that. So the finale for any special or any combo lords who like to watch most of my content, make sure that that most includes the finale episode coming out on my combo class channel in a week or two that will be about sort of a documentary of this grade and some new adventures mixed in. And so the documentary part is mostly unseen footage I would like to show. So thank you to all the other nice comments. And we've gotten our tent portion set up. So far, I'm thinking we might not be in dire need of a lantern, given that the computer at its extra brightest setting does work to a degree. I am holding my computer right now, so I want to find something to put the computer on right here at least. So, 1 second. We will... let me see. Make sure there's the right angle. Well, I guess it's not going to need to be the right angle for long. I'll just find something right here. So, what's a good thing to put it on for now? Well, we might just have to do it. We might just have to put a normal chair in there. So, yeah. Let's just hope this chair's not too dirty. So, we're just bringing a chair into the tent. Why not? It's my tent. I get to do what I want with it. Including right now not taking off my shoes, but normally I try and keep the shoes off in the tent policy. That would maybe make the live stream too much shoe taking on and offing. So, there we go. That's a little better. Now, we are in the tent and I don't have to hold the computer thingy. So, somebody said their math teacher told them, this Joe924's math teacher told him, the answer to life was 42. And is that true? According to Douglas Adams, it is the answer to life, or answer to the question related to the deepest meaning of life. But we don't necessarily know the precise question. I mean, like, not necessarily it being the deepest meaning like I described, but the question of life and what that might imply in different ways. Maybe we don't know the question, but we do know the answer is 42. Well, in any case, for those who don't get that reference, I do recommend reading the book series, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, one of my favorite fiction book series. Douglas Adams, the writer of that, is great at being very funny at the same time as being deep in a strange way. So that is great book series. In any case, at this moment, pretty soon I'm going to have to grab the sleeping bag and some pillow, but I'll do that in a moment after we've accomplished one or two more either chattings or setting uppings. And one more comment I missed was John Davison asked, how many digits of E can I recite? Well, it's 2.718, and then it does something really similar, similar to another 2178 after that. I'm not sure if it's exactly another 2178 after that, but if I had to guess, I'm going with 2.7182718. Is that it? Let's see. The number E is 2.7, not quite. 2.7182818. So I was close. I was one digit off of having 7 past the decimal point, but technically I only got 4 past the decimal point. So, you know, you don't need to always know that many digits if you were to approximate something. Knowing the digits is more that it tells us things about life and about other forms of math and about what we can prove about numbers in general, and a lot of cool things mathematically, but if we are being engineers, we don't need to know that many digits of them. Pi, however, since I did memorize bits of that with my friends as a kid, pi is at the beginning. I do still remember 3.14159265357 or 89, one of those. And then maybe is the part where it goes 323842 something. So for a period of time, I had 100 digits after the decimal point memorized. That was when I was like 12 as a challenge with friends to see if we could do it. And we could. Because pi was very exciting as it was the first irrational number I heard about. So when you hear things like infinite non-repeating digits for the first time, you're like, whoa. Maybe not everyone is, but I think most of my viewers probably either can recall that moment or a moment of that realization slowly sinking in. Sometimes you don't realize something all at once. Now, I actually encountered the golden ratio by that point, but I didn't. In my episode about the golden ratio, I explain more about that. But I didn't know it was irrational yet. So pi was the first number that I heard explanations about irrational numbers. And we have a big fan of root 2 in the chat. That's Maynard Trendle. And I'm a big fan of root 2 as well. I think that root 2 to squares is very similar as pi to circles. And the only reason pi might win Cooler Number Award is that circles are more fundamental than squares. But squares are pretty fundamental too. So square root of 2 definitely deserves to be like in the top 5 irrational numbers if you had to rank them. It's also our representative of the category of square roots of prime numbers, which is a big category of numbers that we can do interesting things with and say interesting things about. And 2 is our representative of that on our list of coolest irrational numbers. Perhaps you'd want to, if you were actually making such a list, give 2 representatives of a given category like that to show the similarities. Like root 3 could be our other representative, and perhaps root 6 getting a representation would show a combination of those. But I don't know if we get to put all 3 of those on our best numbers, our best irrational numbers list, because you got E, you got pi, you got the golden ratio, and some, less known ones like the other Euler constant, the Euler-Mascheroni constant, or some other cool ones. Now, let's see. We have a note from Jordan Blevins that 24 is the only number and its scale fractal values, whose meaning 10 to the power of n, whose reciprocal value rounds to the palindrome and rounds to its palindrome, meaning 42 in this case, I suppose, if you mean it flipped, and whose ratio versus palindrome, when equilibrated to the same order of magnitude, 24 40 halves and 42 24ths. 40 halves, wrong term, 40 seconds, don't copy that term, is equal to another palindrome and reciprocal mirrored pair, 0.571 and 1.75. That's cool. That's a good... And this extremely unique mirrored characteristic can be found nowhere else in the entire universe of number. And I do love facts like that, where you have some very specific fact about a number, only one number does this, or only a finite list does this. Those sequences are really intriguing to me. When, like, either what is it the trait about that number, or sometimes it's all numbers up to some size. Sometimes a number is the last to do a certain thing. Or sometimes there's a little handful of numbers. Like in my last episode on my combo class channel about this pattern that I found that has been semi-researched already on the OEIS, but barely. And I tried to see what I could prove about further details about it. In that episode, I believe, I haven't fully proven it, but I'm pretty sure, based on like just the data that's there, and based on very rough versions of proofs that there is a fixed set of numbers that includes 6, 12, 16, and a few others, that nothing else does what they do. And I have a question from Stan's Junior Clips about if I've ventured much into group theory. I have, in terms of reading bits about it over time and taking some notes about how maybe someday I would make an episode trying to present it, because it shows up as the backbone of many other topics, so it'll at the very least have little sectors of episodes where it explains something in group theory terms. And at some point, maybe I would make a full introductory video to it, but I think I need to study it a bit more before that. It's a topic that I have studied, but not quite enough to feel confident enough to make an episode about yet. So it will come up more in the future as I read more about it and get more comfortable with my knowledge of it. And Maynard Trendle wondered which pattern it was, and it's sort of a long story. The degree to which the patterns I found link to a specific OEIS thing versus the notes in them. So you may have to see the last episode on my main combo class channel when you have time to get those details. It's worth watching. It's my longest edited project I've ever created. I don't know if the finale I'm working on now, the documentary-ish finale, will be longer and break that record, but if not, it'll be pretty long. But that one was the first episode I've made that was like longer than an hour and 5 minutes, and because there was a lot to say about this interesting number sequence. And thank you to everybody who's just chatting about whatever comments I missed. Now, in a moment, I'm going to need to run just to grab a little water and my sleeping bag and a pillow to start setting up further here. And if on the way I can see where my lantern is, I will grab that as well, but I won't dedicate too much time to looking for it. So, for a moment, you're just going to have a little view of our combo classroom to make it more interesting. I won't point you right inside the tent. I will point you at the tent and some background. And although it'll be a little intermission like we sometimes do, this time you can imagine it in terms of me sleeping out here in a few hours. A little more than a few hours. I might go to bed. I don't know when I'll go to bed. On the earlier end, a few hours, if not a few hours after a few hours. So here, we just have the best view I can do without any sort of lantern. So, I will be back shortly with the final supplies I will need for this. Alright, folks, I have gotten the final things I will need to sleep here tonight. I also need to add 2 things and subtract 1 thing. The things to subtract is the chair. But this is the sleeping bag and pillow, which I'll toss in there while we have some final chatting. I could not find a lantern, so we will not have a very illuminated view of the classroom. Although, for fun, what we'll do is see if this lights it up at all, because it's interesting to see at night. It's a different view. It's a different view of our convo classroom, huh? Who knows who may visit me at night? Skunk? Hopefully not. Raccoon? Also hopefully not, although I'm fine with a brief visit from them, I guess. Possum? I'm cool with. Yeah, possums, let's go. Squirrels, let's go. Cats? Oh, let's definitely go. I think the cats will come a bit later. They were very curious about me setting it up earlier. And if I get catamping, where I'm camping with the cat, it's like majestic. So, thank you to everybody leaving some random comments. I'm going to pop back in the tent. This time I am going to take my shoes off temporarily and bring this back. And I guess I will keep the chair in there for a moment. I think I'll have room for a chair and my sleep setup. Oh, ow. I just stepped off of the tarp with just the socks. Something very sharp, luckily a sharp rock and not sharp glass. So, there we go. Now, here, while I set this up, a little sleeping bag and pillow, why don't we chat about what, in addition to whatever comments are here, some random camping experiences I've had. Well, for one, camping is awesome because waking up to the sounds and smells of nature is great. At the end of the day of camping, if you've taken some good hikes, although you expect the ground would be bumpy, you actually sleep really well because you've gotten a lot of exercise usually, and being in the fresh air, something about the air that comes through the tent, can actually be really nice and make you feel surprisingly rested after camping sometimes. And it's fun to cook on a campfire. Now, a few of the more wild-like ones I've done where I was backpacking included a couple times when I was a kid with my family, and then I think 2 separate times with my friends. One time, some friends and I went to Big Sur and I had some fun adventures there. Where backpacking, it's kind of cool. Some zones you can just go wherever, hike with everything on your backs, and then set up camp wherever you want practically. Another time, me and one of my friends went to Yosemite and camped there, although we had a bit of a dilemma and had to cut the backpacking trip short because we realized part of the way through where we were backpacking far enough in that you can't camp with that much water on your back. It's heavy. And so you have to have water purifiers of some sort. You can get tablets that purify it, but they taste kind of a little weird. And you can also get things, if it's a good enough stream to start, that you just filter stream water through a little machine. So we had some little device to filter the stream water there. And you can't just drink straight stream water unless you know exactly its source. The reason, although it's a little gross, is mostly from animal runoff of animals that have taken a pee or poo further up the stream, and tiny particles of that getting mixed in. So you don't want to drink out of a random stream unless you really know its origin is coming from melted snow or something right there. But if you use a little water purification, a lot of streams are close enough, and some streams are good enough that you can just straight up trust them. But here we were drinking from a semi-trustworthy one, and we realized when we were kind of deep in after one night of sleeping already and a day and a half of hiking, that we, because we were trying to get to a particular point that was a few days hike in, and we realized that the water purification thing we had was missing a part, and during one of the places we had lost this part of it that a screw held in place, and it maybe wasn't purifying it all along. And we're like, oh God, were we just drinking a bunch of unpurified stream water? So we had to turn back on the chance that if we got really sick, we didn't want to be out in the wilderness when we got really sick. But we had to hike a lot that day to get back, and we didn't get sick, but probably good thing we played it safe. Um, Seen a lot of wild animals. I've seen bears here in California, which usually are harmless and they mind their business, you mind yours. If you see animals like that, the most dangerous times, which I've seen once, but they did not bother me, is when it's a mom and a bunch of kids. Those are the times the mom will get so protective with some animals like bears. And if you go anywhere near the kids, it'll be like, I am going to attack this thing for getting anywhere near my kids because I want to protect them extra. And so in that case, make sure you don't get too close to baby animals, even though they look cute. They're actually less safe because the mom's probably nearby. And I've encountered, a lot of other creatures like snakes and such, and all sorts of things similar to possums and skunks, but a bit different. When you're unlucky and you're camping, you can get a bunch of raccoons. The problem with that is if you don't have a car right there to lock stuff in, if your car is parked further or like you backpacked in somewhere, you have to tie your food all the way up in trees, or you like use ropes to hang it from something, because otherwise the raccoons will eat it all. They'll rip open the bags and get it all. And you got to be careful not to have food in your tent in a lot of places, or a raccoon's your better case scenario compared to a bear coming to pay you a visit, because they probably won't hurt you on purpose, but they might hurt you accidentally trying to get your food. Now, somebody asked if I've hiked the North Coast. Almost all my camping has been in California, and in particular, mostly the California coast, which ranges a lot of places. If you go north of the Bay Area where I am, you get to places like the Humboldt Redwood Forest. If you go east, if you go east, you get to Point Reyes and John Muir from where I am, sort of eastish north. And if you go south, you get to places like Big Basin, which unfortunately suffered a huge wildfire recently, and places like Big Sur. And those are places a little down the southern coast. But a lot of the places I've camped, which are so beautiful and awesome, are along foresty areas near the California coast on different points. That's just because they're so accessible to me. Those are a lot of spots within a few hours of me. And Maynard Trendle left a donation. I think you were the same one who left some donations the other day. Thank you so much. Those are very helpful, especially with grade -3 coming up. I will be pooling my resources to see how many new cool clocks and whiteboards and how nice of a new lab coat and such I will be able to get. And so thank you all for things like donations or support on Patreon, where I have been slacking on posting my bonus content, but I have a lot ready to post that I will make sure to do in the next few days while I am doing this tent thing. And thank you to people for that, because it will help us make grade -3 extra cool. And part of that donation is the comment that Maynard started watching that long episode a few mornings ago, but we'll get back to it, and recommended an OEIS sequence. It's one they authored that gives a totient map in binary. That sounds very interesting, and we haven't even made an episode about totients yet, but they come up in a lot of things like modular arithmetic, and before long we will have an episode about Euler's totient function, which reminds me of it, but in binary and a map. We will check that out sometime. This stream, I don't have the web browser pulled up. It wouldn't take that long if I needed to, but we're just gonna go with I'll check that out in the next time that we look at, well, maybe on my own time in between, but also maybe in the next time that we do a stream where I have the web browser open, whether that's graphs, or before long we're due for another OEIS focused one where we just look at a bunch of number sequences, because the OEIS is full of gems. In fact, in terms of my personal use, it would probably be one of my top 5 websites, along with Wikipedia and Wolfram Alpha. Those are some other favorites. And Desmos, probably. And Jordan Blevins is asking if I know about any research by a few mathematicians, possibly connecting something with the Langlands program, where the, quote, prime at infinity could relate to an, quote, infinite prime number. And I do need to read about that. I have not. That's another thing I haven't discussed much is the Langlands program. Something that sort of like group theory when that was mentioned, I've read about, but not quite enough to feel confident doing a big teaching thing like an episode about. So I will at some point present the Langlands program in some episode topic probably because it's a cool set of conjectures and things that weave together a lot of different sometimes seemingly unrelated branches of math or descriptions of numbers. And we have some other interesting comments and from people who like camping or who lived in Eureka near Humboldt. Yeah, I had a friend who lived in Arcata, which is right next to there. So I've been up to that city area of Eureka and Arcata quite a few times as well. Taken a variety of reasons of journeys up there. And Maynard said that they were mostly homeless while they were up there, so they know about the lumpy ground. Hope that you now have somewhere that you're living safely, but periods like that can teach us a lot as well, and the lumpy ground can be a thing. Luckily, we are going to be sleeping like kings and queens out here. I guess just me, so we're going to be sleeping like one king, and that means I have a nice pad and I have a tarp under the tent as well. And I can already tell it feels not bad, especially when I have the bottom half of the sleeping bag under me. And let's see how that feels. I'll unzip this bad boy and we'll see how it feels even with that layer, because I'm thinking that this is going to be perfectly comfortable. Now, even if you don't have much, you don't need the pad unless you want to be extra comfortable. You don't even necessarily need a pillow. If you're trying to bring a minimal amount of stuff, you can wrap shirts and things together to make a pillow. You can like take an extra coat and stuff a bunch of shirts in it or something. That functions as a pillow. Don't use a bag of food for your pillow. The raccoons will. You'll wake up with the raccoon in your sleeping bag. But I haven't seen raccoons and skunks around here recently, but they have had many periods of visiting us. And mostly when I used to put cat food outside to feed the cats, sometimes the raccoons started making it a habit of visiting. And I'm kind of scared that they would hurt one of the cats at some point, because raccoons are sort of bullies of animals. And so I stopped putting the food for the cats outside. The raccoons mostly stopped coming, but sometimes a whole new family of them comes by and is curious and checks it out. I saw a bunch of babies and the mom not that long ago. Maybe those will show up in the bit of our upcoming finale episode about animals, because there was a lot to say in the documentary-ish episode I'm working on, and I just divided it into a ton of random sections. It'll be a little chaotic, and if you get bored, you can skip to the next timestamp of the next chapter, but there will just be like a section about all the crazy animals that you may not have seen in the grade, section about all the injuries I've gotten this grade, and etc. And we got a note from Joel Zika, who is a high school math teacher up somewhere on the coast, and that's cool. Sometime maybe you can recommend that your students watch a combo class episode that happens to relate to one of your topics, because I think combo class is a good extracurricular for students in a way. If they, obviously they'll need to learn what the current textbook for that class is as well, but maybe some of those topics connect to my videos in a way that could engage some students around your school. But whether or not you do that, thank you for joining me here. I love having a mix of students, teachers, and just people who are interested in similar things to me. So, while we see what other comments I will respond to, let me think of what other interesting camping moments have occurred. Well, there's been plenty of little dilemmas, like attacks from raccoons, Nights where there's way too many mosquitoes can be problems. Really crazy wind can be an issue. And one time when I was backpacking, we were trying to sleep outside to sleep under the stars because it was really beautiful up there. When you're further from light pollution, which cities generate a lot of, you can see the stars a lot better. And so you may be used to thinking, if you live in a city and don't venture outside much, oh, the stars are like a really subtle thing in the sky that you would maybe be able to pick up better with a special camera. But if you just look at the sky, it's like hard to see constellations or, sets of stars, or hard to see like a ton of them up there. But when you're in a place far from light pollution, you can look up and see all those constellations from the pictures and stuff, and just a vast amount of stars. And so we were trying to sleep out there, but it was so windy up on this hill we were on that was a sort of cliff-like hill. And I woke up in the middle of the night to one of my friends being like, help, help. And he was trying to hold the tent from blowing, because it had gotten really windy, from blowing off the edge. And the bit of wind that was catching the inside of the tent was making it like this big bag, balloon thing trying to blow away, and was practically dragging him. And so we went and grabbed it and had to put rocks in the corners, because some people were sleeping inside the tent at that point. But then when he was sleeping in the tent and went outside, I guess it started flying. So you got to be careful about wind sometimes as well. But despite some little disasters while camping, I don't think I've ever gotten a large injury or anything like that. Don't think I've ever gotten dangerously lost. So most of the camping times have been absolutely wonderful, and they leave you feeling quite refreshed. So while it'll be a mini refresher to be camping here, still going inside to use the bathroom, still maybe cooking some of my meals inside on the stove, still charging my electronics, although I'll try and use electronics less while I'm out here. So we're only half camping, or I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 on the full camping scale, because perhaps 4 out of 10, or maybe we'll earn that spot when we cook on a campfire, because we will have some campfire-like activities and other camping activities. Not in tonight's stream, but over the next few days. And because of that, the reason I give it a 3 to 4 on the scale is because it's nowhere near backpacking in the middle of the wilderness. But some people go camping even less than this. There are things that market themselves as camping that are like, you're actually just staying on a manicured lawn, and you're there's tons of games and activities and food set up and stuff. That's in a way camping. It's still good to shake up your life however you want. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but I think it should have a different name apart from camping, perhaps. Or we need more synonyms for camping that distinguish different levels of it, I suppose. You know how common words like cold or something have many synonyms to distinguish levels of them as well as types. We need more synonyms for nature stuff. And we need more synonyms for Threven stuff. Not even synonyms. We need the first nym. We need just any nym at all for Threven stuff to be in the dictionary. Somebody is wondering about something having a supernova, perhaps. The T Coronae Borealis going nova soon, they say. And or predictions about other things about far away. I don't know exactly which predictions you're referring to with those two. As far as predictions for the future of stars and things, I do believe many of those will be somewhat close to accurate. Or I need to look into those two to see exactly what you mean. We can predict to some degree, though, that certain things will supernova at some point. But our knowledge of science is constantly evolving, and so we're not really sure about too much about what's going on outside our galaxy, but we know some things about what's going on there that are educated guesses, and some of them becoming more refined of educated guesses. So I would say, in general, for that sort of prediction, take it with a grain of salt, but think of it as a quite probable future. And to anyone worried about suns and stars exploding and stuff, don't worry. If humans somehow are still alive, then they'll have a spaceship that can get us far away enough. The harder part would be still just being alive until then. If we can make it that long in history, I think we'll have a pretty cool spaceship by then. We'll see. And to any aliens who may be watching this on their futuristic devices, because light takes a while to travel, and maybe aliens are better at like quantum watching us or something, hello, and thank you for joining us. So, Jordan Blevins does remind me that there is a good term for that sort of camping. I was thinking of it in my head of sort of camping with a K, and that is maybe associated with a particular thing that's like that called the KOA campgrounds, but there's other sorts of things like that. But Jordan Blevins makes a good point that glamping is also a term for a glam sort of camping. And yes, we are here sort of verging on that, and that is a good term to remember. We are sort of verging between glamping and camping here because we do have access to some technologies. But given that I'm going to try and spend some time out here, I will bring some paper books out here to read and write in. I will try not to be on my computer too much, and we will have a campfire in a night or two. In fact, I will probably be having a few campfires on my own, but I'll make one of them at least line up with a live stream. So, that is some thoughts about camping to begin, and although I have a good number of people leaving nice fun comments and such, and hopefully you're enjoying this pretty dark stream, you can't even see what's going on, but we are camping, kind of. I will wrap up the stream pretty soon because the more interesting aspects of our camping will come when I have a night with more activities ready out here. Tonight's activity was setting up my new tent and getting the sleeping zone ready, which was successful, even though we barely beat the darkness. And so I will be wrapping up soon after a little more chatting, and if anyone leaves before that little more chatting, do make sure that you're tuned into the cool links in the description here, such as my main combo class channel, the Discord, the subreddit, and etc. Or if you're extra helpful, things like the Patreon. And those are some cool things to check out. Now, there are a few more comments, so I'm going to respond to comments until we're done, and then maybe tell a final story and wrap up. And let's see, somebody is saying, David Hodge is saying that some numbers, when you multiply them by 1, 2, 3, and 4, and reverse the digits, gives you the original number. So, and some examples of things like that. That's pretty neat. I love when people leave their random number facts in the comments. And I have tons of random number facts stockpiled in my notes, still waiting to show you folks. And so, excited to drop some more bonus content that will range from random shorts and live streams, like are pretty common on this channel, to some more regular horizontal bonus videos, many of which are sort of follow-ups to concepts that I've touched on before, that I left something out of now, that I've either seen a connection after the fact, or I somehow didn't put the connection in the episode because it didn't make the edited cut somehow. In any case, bits that relate to concepts we've talked about before, but I haven't explained a certain connection or aspect of yet. Those will be some of the topics of some of the bonus videos that will come out on this channel for the end of Grade Negative 2. And as we discussed earlier, we're very close to the end of Grade Negative 2. We are verging on Grade Negative 3, which will be beginning some point between 2 weeks from now and the beginning of November, which is about 4 weeks from now. And between then, we also have Halloween. I have 2 small pumpkins. They're out there. I should have brought them. I'll bring the pumpkins for our next one. And maybe we'll make a jack-o'-lantern at some point, but we might be a little premature on that now. October just makes me think of that. Halloween is probably tied for my favorite holiday with April Fool's Day. It's just like a fun holiday. So we will have something pumpkin related we will do. And I'm going to probably get a really big pumpkin we can cut into a jack-o'-lantern too. And we'll also retry my Persimmon lanterns. In fact, I have a short that never ended up on here because I lit something on fire and I was kind of scared that YouTube Shorts would be mad at me like holding something on fire. but maybe I'll edit on a do not copy or something disclaimer and post it anyway, because I have a short from 1 or 2 Halloweens ago where I'm holding this flaming persimmon lantern that I made that works. So by persimmon lantern, I mean a jack-o'-lantern, but with a persimmon instead of a pumpkin, even though I now realize you don't call it a pumpkin-o'-lantern, so we can just call it, I don't know, a persimmon jack-o'-lantern. And in any case, we have some other interesting thoughts, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to respond to all of them, but I do love all of you for joining and commenting. And as I wrap it up today, let me think about what the rest of my night out here can hold to be more camping-like. Well, I think I will bring 1 or 2 final snacks that I will eat and some sort bag or something to seal them in afterwards, so any wild well, okay, I'm close enough to a trash can. I'll use the trash can that's over there. But I'll have a nice little meal out here and maybe read a book or something, or perhaps write some notes on paper, because I used to love writing in paper notebooks, and I have like 20 or 30 paper notebooks from throughout my life that I need to go through at some point. But now I've gotten really into writing on my computer, and I've gotten just really fast at doing that, and so I enjoy writing on my computer as well. But I have to remind myself that you get a different sort of thinking when you write on paper, and it does help to do once in a while. And it also will be easier if I want to design more puzzles, like in the last stream. Last stream, I was not that successful at designing successful grid puzzles. I did show a successful one I designed from the past, but all of our new experiments didn't exactly have any solutions. Or they were too vague. As soon as we added enough clues, they didn't have any solutions. And with those, because we need exactly 1 solution for a puzzle, not 0 or not more than 1, if we want it to be a valid puzzle. And so, unless the puzzle says there are 2 solutions, list both or something. So, assuming we need 1 solution, there's the problem with designing the puzzles we were doing yesterday was I was really into trying to combine 2 rules. One was using a ton of my ascension rule, where certain lines have arrows to show that they strictly ascend in size a certain direction, the numbers being larger than the last. And having too many of the ascension arrows felt like it had tons of options for them to go, but it's like tons of options that are scrambling around things in a certain way, in that once you added another rule on top, often none of those options fit. And we were playing around with these factor rules. I realized the ones about factors touching was going to be nearly I realized this after the fact, would be nearly impossible to make work, because 24 ended up needing to be close to 25 with all the arrows going on. But 24 has to be close to the small numbers due to the factor rules we had. And the smaller numbers have to be close to 1. And 1 and 25 have to be in the corners because of the way we had the arrows. So we were adding 2 rules that were sort of conflicting. Next time we come back to puzzles, maybe we'll be more successful by not doing as much of the ascension rules, only maybe applying that to 1 or 2 lines that ascend or descend. And the way I was quicker at generating puzzles on my own was starting with something like one of the factor-based rules, seeing all the arrangements, and then adding a few kind of specific rules, like the right column and the top do this, they're equal sums or something, but specifically to make it so there was 1 solution exactly, as opposed to I was sort of overshooting on the last live stream by starting with a whole general concept and trying to merge 2 concepts at once. So we're going to maybe next time start with 1 rule at a time and then dabble in a little bit of ascension if we need. There are some other puzzles I've been working on in the meantime, and perhaps I will wrap it up with one of those. Let me see if I can find one of the puzzles that I haven't shown yet. So, these are grid puzzles, so if any of you try and solve these, you're going to draw a little grid, and you may need to take some notes on the side of it of what you've figured out. And on this little grid, you are going to need to fill all the numbers between 1 and the grid size in 1 distinct cell of the grid each. So if you had a 5 by 5, you have the numbers 1 through 25, for example. So let me see one of the puzzles I'm looking that I've made that I haven't shared yet. Now, let's see. There's one that could work. Okay, here's a smaller one. I'm pretty sure these work, but sometimes I'm a little off when I design it and haven't tested it. So warning to anyone who tries these, there's a small chance that there's two solutions or something, but I'll double check as I state them that there's at least the one solution, and I'm pretty sure there's only one solution, meaning that you can use logic in a way to deduce what it is, and that there is a singular one. Here's a smaller one on a 3x3 grid for anyone who wants to try that. Then I'll mention a larger one. Here is one where this is similar to one that I showed the other day, but sort of a miniature version. Then we'll do a slightly different one. This miniature version of a similar concept I showed before are it's a 3x3 grid, so just 1 through 9. Even numbers are either on top of, directly one cell above, or directly one cell to the right of the number half their size. Even numbers, multiples of 3, are also either directly above or directly to the right of the number 1/3 of their size. And finally, we know that at least 2 columns have the same sum. And is there a mirror solution at this point? Let me see. I think there's not a mirror. Wait, let me double check this real quick. If there's a mirror solution, which would mean I need to make one more specification. Let me check something. No, it doesn't have a mirror, I don't think. I think there's just one. One other example of a puzzle. This one will do one that... Let me find one with a slightly different rule. The ones I have in this document that I've pulled open are similar rules to that. Oh, here's one that's a little different. I might have mentioned this in another stream, but it's pretty quick. Try one if you want that's a 3x3 grid where there's equations on some lines that are each either addition or multiplication. And what we know is that each row let me see. Each row has the left and the middle either add or multiply to the one on the right. And columns, some of them have a similar trait. The left column, the top plus middle, or the top times the middle is the bottom, and the middle column is backwards of that. The bottom plus or times the middle is the top, and the right column doesn't have a rule like that. So that's another little one. And where's another variation here? That one I already showed. If you see the one I showed in my last stream, be careful, because I showed a version that had a slight miswording that actually would have made it impossible with the way I phrased it. And so jump ahead in the stream if you do that puzzle to the bit where I show the corrected version. And finally, let's see. A lot of the other ones here have a somewhat similar concept. Some of them I do have on paper, because on paper it's a lot easier to write out than writing out the way it was trying to format it on the computer while moving things around or stuff like that. So I will get the paper ones at some point to show you, but that's okay because that's just a little taste of some puzzles I've been having fun with, which we already did a really long stream about yesterday. Now, in any case, Maynard was asking if I could share my screen. Sorry, I couldn't at the moment because they were embedded in a longer document of mine that I don't know if I had anything personal in or not. So it was a longer Word document that I could have gotten the screen on just the right part and made sure not to scroll or whatever, but it might have just had a bunch of random notes about combo class, or could have had, anything related to my notes related to a portion of combo class stuff. I have different documents to sort different things. So another time I will paste that into a show the screen all this document and show you those ones written down. But I will refine them a bit more too, because sometimes I've found with the puzzle making, it has quite an elegance to it you can have where certain rules in an artistic way can be phrased super concisely or elegantly, or in a way that there's a few different things you could get. A clue that sort of misdirects you of where you should look or how to apply it, or a clue that's purposefully obvious, or that spectrum, or also just clues in general that sound nicer than others in a way due to their simplicity, or due to them involving different types of numbers. Like, for example, saying like the second to right row and the middle column have, or I mean, the second to right column and the middle row have some trait in common. And that's not as nice as if my rule ends up being something along the lines of like, the corners all have this trait, or something like that. And I've even found sometimes you get a synonymous pattern described two ways. For example, I could say the numbers form a checkerboard pattern of evens and odds. Or I could just say even numbers aren't touching each other orthogonally. Or, like, meaning non-diagonal pairs aren't two evens touching. Or I could say the same thing about odds, and either one of those would give me all the data. Or I can say any orthogonal pair of numbers adds up to an odd number, because an even plus an odd always adds to that. And I guess, yeah, if any orthogonal pair adds up to an odd number, we have a checkerboard pattern. I also found some fun ways things line up, where like on a 3x3 grid with the numbers 1 through 9, there are exactly 4 primes in that range. So one of my puzzles had the clue that primes aren't touching, they're not neighbors in any way, including diagonally, and that means the primes must be in the corners in some order, in another way of phrasing that. And similarly, I found that on a 4x4 grid, let's see, there's 6 primes up to that. On a 5x5 grid, there's 9 primes up to that. So similarly, the primes would actually form, if you want to fit the most amount of squares that don't touch each other as neighbors in any way on a 5x5 grid, you can fit 9 of them maximum. And there are exactly 9 primes. So if your rule is primes can't be neighbors in any way on a 5x5 grid, you know that in some order the primes are at these certain spots. And so instead of saying that, like the left, middle, and right-ist squares of the top, middle, and bottom rows, instead of that, I could just say primes don't touch. And so sometimes you can make your phrasing extra elegant on the puzzle, or maybe combine 2 rules into one, or stuff like that. And that is a way we could try and design them more too, is backtrack from just a solved grid that fits some rule that the rule would have many possible grids you could have used. Just make one that works, and then see how many more clues we have to add until that would be the only one. Or I often just start from scratch. What does each clue add in terms of knowledge? Did I get a contradiction? Or if not, did it reduce the vagueness? So, thank you to all the other comments. As a final one, I will note that Maynard noted that he enjoys, or he or they or she enjoys, probably he, but who knows, enjoys someone else thinking in real time, and that they always feel very stupid when they make any mistakes, but try and power through. And, that happens to all of us. We're animals. So when I make a mistake, I sometimes feel dumb too, but it's good to own your mistakes. And by owning your mistakes, not only will you come across as more humble to the world, but you will have a better chance yourself of actually accumulating knowledge from the mistake and being like, okay, now here's how I do things differently. So I've made various mistakes, and some mistakes I'll even show in the documentary that you haven't even seen that I made over the past year. And that will be for, since I'm wrapping up real soon, my final note will be a documentary-like episode on my combo class channel, not this one, which will be the final episode out of 36 in grade -2, which will have exactly 36 episodes like grade -1, partially because someday the world, after some apocalypse, will rebuild in a better form with base 6. And at that point, when we look back at the combo class grades like seasons of a TV show, which I see that channel somewhat like, well, we're going to call it 100 episodes per grade, because 36 is 100 in base 6. So that the first 3-digit number in my favorite base, that's how many episodes I wanted. So, in any case, and also, it also is so divisible that it lets you divide in your head, if you ever wanted, into any amount of sections practically, like, oh, we are 2/9 of the way through the grade is exactly 8 episodes, assuming they pass at a similar rate. But who knows what will happen with future grades. We will maintain many of our attitudes and styles and things. By we, I guess I mean me, and my camera people who help with certain aspects. But we'll also learn new things and change and try new experiments. One experiment that will come in grade -3 will be beginning music theory lessons on both of my channels. It won't become the only content, but there will be new things that I like to teach. This is actually one of the more mathematical ones of the different tangents we'll go on. And I'll probably begin with an episode that is my guide to piano chords. Made easy, and maybe I'll include guitar chords there as well, because not everyone knows, but before, I've only tutored actually a handful of people one-on-one in math, but I've tutored many people in music, because I used to somewhat co-manage a small music shop around here that I'm still friends with the boss. And at that shop I transitioned into a teacher, and then I started teaching outside of the shop, and for a long time I was a music teacher, so like to one-on-one students. So all of that is something that I haven't worked into combo class much yet, but that I will. And grade -3 is a good time because piano chords have 3 notes in them often. I mean, you can have chords with 4 or other things, but the typical base of a piano chord is 3 notes together. So, thank you, everybody. Maynard Trendle has some thoughts for some merch that says base 6 or bust. And yeah, maybe we'll make some base 6 styled shirts. I think first, along the lines of base 6, we have to ingrain threeven into society more, because society already respects evens. And so once we get society to respect threevens more and keep the respect they have for evens, then base 6 will seem extra natural. So first, we'll have some merchandise someday when the petition comes near the end of grade -3, when I've made 1 or 2 more videos purely about threeven numbers and maybe written some things about it, because I have many notes written about it. And one time I said I was going to write a whole book about Threvens and Throds because it just sounds so absurd, but I have enough notes that I could. I still kind of want to do that. It's not necessarily the first book I'll write. I don't know, because I have fiction books I'm working on as well. But the Threven book may still be in the works. And when the petition comes out and or the book, I will make some sort of merchandise for maybe the first time, because I haven't yet. I don't want to try and milk my fans for cheap merchandise, and I'm not like in touch with any big merchandise companies, and I've been pretty introverted the past few months in terms of collaborations and things like that. At some point I will, look into more how to make high quality things, like not just shirts. Shirts would be a small amount, and I was going to get to maybe I would have a shirt that says something about Threven numbers, like a shirt that says Threven should be in the dictionary, just to spread that word a little more around town. Leave a comment if you'd wear a shirt that said Threven should be in the dictionary. I also someday may just sell shirts that say Combo Lord for all my Combo Lords who want to let others know they're a Combo Lord. Maybe the O's in Combo Lord, which are the only... Combo Lord has 3 O's, just like Demotro. It all comes together. But maybe the O's in there will be clocks that are on fire. And, I think the most logical merchandise for Combo Class to sell someday would be a clock. But here's how my clock works. It has 3 modes on the back. One is go forward. One is stop, stay stopped when it's at that. And one is go backward. I'm going to wait till I can work with a clockmaker that can make backward clocks. I want to take it further. Stop clocks are good here, but here's part of why they're good. Normal clocks are always a millisecond off, staying a millisecond off. My clocks here are right twice a day each, but if they were running backwards, they would be right more times a day each, that they would pass the real time. Now, maybe even someday we would have clocks that have an option, 5 dials, double speed forward, double speed backward. We'll see. But I think that would be a great piece of merchandise. Clocks that run backwards. So, really, though, the first piece of merchandise I will sell will probably either be a card game or a book. So that would probably be actually the first thing I would try and sell. Apart from trying to sell people that subscribing to the Patreon, which I will update with more bonus videos soon, or leaving cool donations is awesome. And there will be a thanks to people such as that in the finale. There will be a scene that is thanking the people who need to be thanked. And in general, thank you so much for joining me. I've been ranting for a while, and I think I will wrap up pretty soon. So make sure that you're tuned into all those links in the description of this stream and others. Make sure that you leave a comment after the stream becomes a video if you have any interesting thoughts or just want to help it spread. And make sure that if you're bored, you check through the couple bonus videos I put on this channel recently, as well as all the saved live streams, which is a ton of content, and most importantly, my main combo class channel, that you're up to date on those episodes. There's a playlist of grade -2, the 35 episodes that have come out so far out of 36, so feel free to watch the playlists of the grades if you want to see chronological TV show style combo class. Now, love all of you. I'm going to wrap up, get some stuff out here, like a snack and a book or something, and see how it's like to sleep out here tonight. Have my phone ready in case I encounter any interesting wild animals, which is quite possible. So, I'll see you in the next one, which may be a stream tomorrow related to cooking food on a campfire. If not, it will be within a few days. So, and there's also another short that I've basically ready to go, which is a cool clock puzzle and its answer, which that short will come out relatively soon, probably tomorrow. So, love all of you. Hope you're all doing well. And maybe this setting up of this tent and everything inspired somebody who hasn't gone camping much to dig up an old tent or to buy a cheap tent. This one was quite cheap and seems good enough to me. Maybe not in the middle of a storm, but I don't expect there to be a storm here right now while I have this out. So maybe it inspired one of you to go camping. You gotta sometimes, if you're booking car camping, do it a few months in advance. So it's time to book whatever trip you want to go camping on a few months from now. Now is the time to book. So there's also places that are sort of first come, first serve, where you can go early enough in the morning and usually get a spot. And then there's places where you can just backpack. But some of those places, the legality is on and off. But you know me, I'm not one for law over morality. And all I'm saying is there's nothing immoral about respectfully going backpacking in the wilderness, whether or not they require a permit. But you don't want to get a big fine or something either. And I am not recommending that you break any laws. I'm just saying trust your morality more than your laws. Now, thank you to all of the other notes. We have GT Ziavelis mentions. Oh, wait, did you mention that before I mentioned or not? GT Ziavelis says, merch a clock with hands running in opposite directions. That was exactly what I was describing. And we see, they think they saw that clock idea in the DMT lobby. Interesting. And we have a recommendation from GT Ziavelis of making merch, I think, that is a rhinestone black jacket with life-size dandelions. That's one of my cats, the fluffy one. Dandelions, silhouette on back and silver roses on front shoulders. Maybe something like that. Dandelion could maybe be on a shirt. I actually have a shirt that's the 3 cats. It's not what I'm wearing right now. Right now this is Looney Tunes. But, you see that? Good old Looney Tunes. And I do have a shirt that is my cats with a design my mom made. She's a graphic designer, and when she was bored one day, she took an image of some cats and edited them to look like our cats, like where they have white spots and one has a clipped ear and such. And so I have a shirt that looks like my cats. Maybe I will someday make an even better version of that. If we were going to do merch, I would make it cool. I'm not going to milk the money out of you guys for anything dumb. I'm not the type of guy who's here to make a lot of money off this, and I dream that this can become more of a full job right now. Right now I am living at my parents' house, and so I dream it will grow and become more profitable, but that's not the primary reason I do it. The primary reason I do it is out of passion. So, love you all so much. I guess that's all the comments for the moment. And I will catch you in the next live stream bonus video, or maybe on the Combo Class Discord.